AnimeSecrets.org, the answer to all your burning questions.
Alright, I'm Mike Davis with Anime Secrets, sitting here with Andrea Romano. First of all, thank you very much for taking the time to have this interview with me.
My
greatly
pleasure.
appreciated.
My pleasure.
One of the first questions I had is, how does the communications between you and either DC and Warner Brothers work whenever there's a film coming up and they give you a list of the characters in it?
They send me, first they offer me the job because I'm a freelance director. And so they offer me a job. They say, we've got this project, it's called blah, 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 it's got these characters in it, and here's a script. And so I always look at the script first and see if it looks like something I want to do, if it's something that actually I can bring something to it, and also that it's not something that I'm repeating myself, something that I've already done before. I want to always stretch and do new things, do interesting things, things that stimulate me. And so then once I've decided, yes, I do want to do it, I have a meeting around a round table with various different people, producers, animation directors. Sometimes I hire a casting director because I need somebody else to help me out. I'm so busy I can't do all the casting myself. I work with a very talented casting director called Meredith Lane, and she does a lot of work with me. And wonderful publicist, Gary Mariano, who works with us, who has great ideas because as a publicist, he knows lots of actors, of course. And so then we sit together and we talk about, okay, who do we want to play Batman, for example? And my first question always is, can I use Kevin Conroy?
Absolutely.
Because he's Batman.
Definitive voice.
When I
for the
read a
last 20
script,
years.
I hear Kevin's voice. That's who I hear reading the lots
When
of
I read the
Batman.
comics, that's the voice I hear.
As it
well.
should be. And then every once in a while they'll say yes, and sometimes they say no, we're going to do a completely different artistic style. And so we want a different Batman. We want a different voice to go with it. And so after I get over the heartbreak, then we do the job of finding another Batman. And I've been told, I believe it was at San Diego Comic-Con several years ago, a fan told me that I've cast Batman now 17 times. The voice of Batman 17 times. 17 different actors on different projects. And so it was a crazy responsibility in the first place, and every single time it hasn't gotten any easier. It's a very, very hard character to cast because everybody has an idea in their mind of what he sounds like. And so once you got Batman locked in, then you start casting all the characters that work around him. And there's always one major villain in the show, whether it's the Joker or Bane or whoever, or maybe it's a group, maybe it's the Suicide Squad, maybe it's a bunch of different people. And so what you look for is what actors will sound good together? What actors make sense that they will be playing against each other? Because I can't always get them in the room at the same time, which I like to do. I like ensemble records.
Try to let them complement each other.
And to react, you know, playing the scene, if you and I are having a conversation, it sounds natural and real.
Play off of each other?
Exactly,
Okay.
right. So if they're right there, they can do it. Now, I certainly can read an actor into a line, and they can act with me, but better for them to act with the actor who's actually going to read that line. So then we get all the other characters cast. We sit them all together when we can to do a table read if possible, and then we record in pieces. And typically for those films, it takes no less than a month to record the voices for it, because of people's availabilities, for my availability, because I'm always doing 6 or 7 other projects at the same time. So it's a long process. It takes about a month to get the initial record done. Goes away to animation for 10 months, 11 months, comes back from wherever it's being animated, and then we do another month or so of voice work on it, fixing anything that didn't work, doing all the fight stuff, doing any, the scene may have been initially indicated in the script as if you and I were talking like this, and when they animated it, they put you clear across the room. So we have to re-record it talking like that so that it makes sense. Or conversely, we may have recorded it really loud, like you were across the room, and they put us right next to each other. So it sounds like I'm inappropriately yelling at you. So we have to fix those things, and that's what we do ADR for at the end.
Oh wow, that you answered so many of those questions. That is amazing. That is amazing. Of all the different films and televisions that you've done, which one would be your personal favorite?
It's kind of like choosing your favorite child. You know, who's your favorite kid?
Well, do you have like one that's maybe possibly the most rewarding?
They're all great. you know, I always joke saying my favorite one is the next one. Whatever the next job
Right.
is going to be my favorite one. I loved Mask of the Phantasm because it was the first movie I
Oh,
directed, and that was a
absolutely.
theatrical release. It was not intended as a theatrical release. It was meant to be a direct-to-video, but it was so good that they released it in theaters, which was really cool.
It was an amazing piece of just
Thank you. There's a story behind
pure
that.
perfect.
I can tell you a story behind that. There was and I've told the story before, so I hope I'm not repeating something you and your fans have heard before. But when I first hired Kevin Conroy, he had not done voices for animation before. And what we do at the beginning of a session always is get levels, which means the actor stands in front of the microphone and they do kind of the quiet dialogue and the loud dialogue and the sounds, so that the engineer can figure out how loud to mic it and make sure that it doesn't distort and do that kind of thing. So we would go around the room and all the actors would do their, I'd say, give me a level, give me a level, give me, and Kevin would do a level. And one of the things that he'd have to do is, because Batman is constantly punched, falls to the ground, and rendered unconscious. That often happens in a Batman, especially in Batman the Animated Series. So I said, okay, Kevin, give me a level of being punched, fainting, so that I can get that level. And he'd go, ugh, ugh. And then every time he would do that moan, it would just make my heart pound. And so after the fourth or fifth recording session, once Kevin was comfortable and we knew each other, I'd say, okay, Kevin, give me the sound of a punch and a faint. He'd go, ugh, ugh. And then I'd hit the talkback and say, and now say, Andrea. And he would say, Andrea. And so now, 21 years later, whenever I slate for him, get ready for him, get his level, he always says, Andrea. We can't record. So it was a joke amongst all of us. Up comes this movie, Mask of the Phantasm, and they named the lead female character Andrea. And there's a scene where Batman is rendered unconscious. And in the piece, it's actually scripted. Gets punched, is rendered unconscious, and then says, Andrea. And it's in Batman.
I am going to rewatch this when I get back home.
I think he's either reaching
for
for
that
her or
part,
something.
That is amazing.
A little inside story.
What of all the different properties DC has, what is one particular story or run that gets requested the most?
It's always different. Fans have different things that they like. And so today, for example, people were asking about Batman Beyond, which was a series I really liked doing.
Oh, I love Batman.
And we haven't really done anything of it beyond what we did initially. And so I would love to see something new, whether it's a movie or more episodes or a series of a few episodes, whatever. I'd love to see more of that. The Justice League, I adore. Batman, anything based on Batman the Animated Series, I love doing. Teen Titans, my sweet, sweet, sweet Teen Titans, I love. They were big guests here at Mechacon, and I adore them. And so there's so many different projects. You know, I directed SpongeBob. I loved doing that. So very different from this DC universe that I work in. I'm directing several series for DreamWorks right now, and what I like is the diversity. I like doing all the different things. I like always having the chance to do a comic, musical episode of something, and then a very serious, dramatic, say Batman or Superman or something like that.
Speaking of SpongeBob, how do you feel about the live version movie that has now been announced from San Diego Comic-Con?
It's an animated feature, isn't it?
It looks like there's a lot of live
Well,
action in
you know
it
how a
as
lot of the
well.
episodes had live action segments in it? I believe there is still quite a bit of animation in it as well. I did not work on it. And that was partially because movies like that take years to record. And because I'm always doing so many other projects, I couldn't always be available whenever they were ready to record the next sequence. So it made sense for the producer to direct it. And it made me sad because I would love to have done it. Actors become my children when I work on these. I get so close to them, and I'm protective of them, and I don't want anybody else to hurt them, and treat them any way other than how I would treat them. So they are going to come back in to do more episodes of SpongeBob, and I hope that they will invite me to come back to play. But they may not. I don't know. But I loved working on that series.
Awesome.
But I'm happy that they're making a movie. I hope it's wonderful.
Let's see. One of my personal DC stories is Kingdom Come. It's one of the things that really hit home to me whenever it first came out. The artwork from Alex Ross is amazing in it. It's probably would be the epitome of anything for it. If, for example, it were to ever happen, do you ever read any of these stories? And like you said, Kevin Conroy always in the voice of your mind as Batman. When I read Kingdom Come, that's literally who I picture, especially the Batman Beyond version of Bruce Wayne. Old, beat up.
Right.
Do you look at these and kind of feel the exact same way with all these different characters that you've ever cast before?
I hear the actors' voices. I do. When I hear, if I'm doing Hal Jordan Green Lantern, I hear Nathan Fillion's voice.
Oh, absolutely.
If I'm doing the Jon Stewart Green Lantern, I hear Phil Lamar's voice. If I'm working on something that has any of the characters I've done, especially if it's been a series where I've done multiple episodes over years, it's those actors that I hear doing it. And then sometimes, if we're going to be doing, say, for example, we did Batman and Son, right, which was Batman and his young son. And we cast Jason O'Mara and a young actor named Stuart Allen as his son. Now we're coming out with Batman versus Robin, and we use the same two actors. So when I read the script for that, knowing that we were going to use the same two actors because the animation style was going to be the same, we wanted continuity. It's their voices that I hear because I know that's what I'm going to be using for that, referencing back 2 movies ago to the other Batman movie that we did with them. So yes, there's always some actor's voice. Now when I'm looking at a character I've never had to cast before, what happens is I read the script or I read the source material. It may be based on a graphic novel or a series of animation, of comic books, or there may have been some material that it was used in before. And then I find myself watching TV or watching movies and I go, oh, he would be a good so-and-so. Oh, that woman would be very good. Oh, I got to keep that woman in mind for something in the future because what a great gravelly texture voice that is. And so you can always tell by my casting what I've been watching on TV.
Absolutely.
Because it's I have now at this point hired everybody from Firefly, the series, the Joss Whedon series. I've now hired almost everybody from Criminal Minds. And there's several of those series where you can see that clearly Andrea was watching CSI during that period of time because all those actors are in the show. So, but what happens is and then that's where I get my wish list, which is I'm watching it on TV and I have a wish list that I keep. And I'm lucky enough that year after year I'm able to cross off some of the people that I've actually been able to hire, that I have wanted to. And there's been people, and there's a movie coming up that I can't actually talk about. There are 2 actors playing the lead characters in it that I have pursued for 10 years. And they never were available or it just didn't work out or something wasn't quite right. They didn't care for that particular script. And then they both said yes on this upcoming movie and they're both stunning. And so when that comes out, I'll be able to talk about that. But that's really cool.
I cannot wait for that.
But an actor that I've always wanted to hire, and I want to say this as much as possible because I want him to know about this and I want to get him, which is John Hamm from Mad Men.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
he's stunningly talented. I think he can do comedy. I think he can do drama. I look forward to the day that I can record him.
I definitely look forward to when we can hear him.
Nice.
If you had to pick a better voice actor for Superman between Tim Daly and George Newbern.
Oh, but they're both equally talented.
And it's very, very hard to distinguish which one it is. And that's what I love about it.
Me too.
It's
Me
just
too.
amazing going from the Superman animated series to Justice League. I literally thought I was hearing Tim Daly's voice.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
And it's amazing for the feature films as well. I hear Tim Daly come back and then Tim Daly's son, and I'm like, they all just sound alike. It's
nice?
just amazing.
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you. I don't prefer one actor over the other. I think they're both equally talented actors. The reason that we cast George Newbern in the first place was simply because Tim Daly moved to Rhode Island and we recorded in Los Angeles, and it just wasn't possible to record him within our production period. It was starting to hold up animation, and Tim still wanted to do it. We just couldn't make it work, and so we had to do a big casting to find an actor. And the truth was, we weren't actually looking for a sound-alike. And then George Newbern came in and we went, wow, a wonderful actor, and he sounds like Tim Daly. And so when it comes down to it, it's not a preference thing. It's pretty much who's available. And if the producer has a preference, I have to listen to them. And if the network has a preference, or if there's somebody that's paying for it, for the production, then I have to give them their chance. So they may say, we want Tim Daly. And we go out to Tim, and Tim says, I can't do it. I'm just going to be in Prague shooting a movie for 3 months, and it's impossible, can't work it out. Then we'll go to George Newbern. Or it may be a case where we say, we want George Newbern. And George says, I can't do it. I'm shooting this TV series, and I'm never available. Then we'll go over to Tim Daly. But I think they're both equally as talented.
For the Young Justice animated series, my son and I...
Hold on, I'm going to stop you. I didn't direct it.
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
I understand it. It's my son and I's probably favorite of the newer series that have been out, because we waited so long for something to come out of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. would just being who you are and inside this situation, whenever you hear about these shows that are just really, really dear to a lot of fans being canceled out for merchandising reasons or any other reasons and things like that, what are your thoughts behind that when you see top-notch animation, fantastic voices?
So aggravating, and it's happened to me several times. We did a series called Thundercats that was based on the long ago series, and I love
my
this series.
son's face right now.
I love Thundercats. I thought it was fantastic, and it was because the toys didn't sell that they canceled the series, and that made me incredibly sad. And then there was another series that's airing now, actually, about 3 o'clock in the morning on Toonami, called Beware the Batman. That's a terrific series that also did not sell enough toys, and so it did not get picked up. And you know, sometimes it takes 13 episodes, maybe 26 episodes, to get our feet under ourselves and find out what the series is. And if the rug gets pulled out from under us, it breaks our hearts because we've worked so hard to get it to a certain point, and then we're not getting the chance to enjoy understanding truly what we're making. So it makes me very sad. I know that there's an enormous fan following for Young Justice, and I know everybody who worked on it loved working on it, so I'm very sad they did not go on. It is a reality in this industry that it is driven by merchandising. It's a shame. What it creates is, unfortunately, animation that is 22 minutes of a commercial for a product, and that's not right. We all work very hard to make sure that it's an entertaining, theatrical, wonderful event that also will sell toys. But when, for example, with Justice League Unlimited, when we got to the end of that series, there were suddenly a bunch of figures that they wanted to sell, so we had to make sure to throw them into scripts without real reason for them to be in the scripts. They just wanted them to show up physically so they could sell the toys. And I understand that. That's fine. That's their prerogative. It's their project. But it doesn't create an artistic, creative situation. It's a merchandising situation. So I hope that it stops being driven that way, and that simply by people watching it and wanting it, that's what will drive picking up series.
Do you ever feel that for a lot of these shows that there is a small, minute chance of hope for them to come back?
Absolutely. Look at shows like Futurama. Futurama was canceled and gone, and the fans went nuts for years, just sending out emails and sending out all kinds of things. We want more. We want more. And after like 2 or 3 years out of production, they went back into production. So the fans have a very, very strong say. Anything you want to see, you must contact the studio and let them know we want more. Sometimes it actually happens. Miracles happen.
That's amazing. Next question would be pertaining to an actual live action movie. Thoughts on the Superman versus Batman movie directed by Zack Snyder with Ben Affleck as Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and Henry Cavill as Superman. What are your thoughts on that particular type of casting?
I hope for the best for them. I always want to see these films succeed. I don't ever want to see anybody fall on their face. I love this franchise. I'm crazy about these superheroes. I want them to do wonderfully well. I have no negative thing to say about my expectations of that film. I expect it to be wonderful, as I expect every movie I go to see that involves these characters. I want all the TV series that come out, whether it's Arrow or Flash or Smallville years ago, anything. I want them to be wonderful. I want them to succeed so that the fans are constantly wanting more production so that all of us continue to have work in that field.
My last question is, do you have a particular favorite superhero or villain that is just really, really close to you? And did you ever get a chance to cast that particular hero or villain?
Well, Batman is my favorite. And it shouldn't be I shouldn't say that because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But Batman is so cool because he's human. And that means he can make mistakes. Superman will almost always make the right choice. Superman has this sense of what is good and what is wrong, and he always knows. Batman has this vengeance thing going. He doesn't have any superpowers. He has to rely on things that he has made, whether it's a batarang or a bat grappler or whatever. And so I like him, and I like the darkness of Batman. I do. I like that. As far as villains, there's so many. I like the stranger ones. I liked Toyman. I liked Dollmaker.
Ooh, very, very creepy characters.
Creepy characters, I know, the ventriloquist. Unusual ones. I liked them, I did. It's kind of the fringe characters. I think they were really, what is it called? Boy, I'm going to forget his name now. Is it called The Question? What is it called? Who's the one that's the conspiracy theorist?
The Question.
The Question.
Yeah,
I think he's really interesting. So I actually have a lot of villains that I like, and I love them all. They're my children. They've become a part of my life, and not just like a fan part of my life. I work with them. I work with these characters, and so I work with these guys. I work with the actors. I work with the animators, and they are a huge part of my life. But I love the Joker, of course. The Joker is such a huge, wonderful villain, and what I like about the Joker is he can be played, acted in so many different ways. We've seen it. Mark Hamill's Joker is so different than Heath Ledger's Joker, is so different than John DiMaggio's Joker, is so different than Jack Nicholson's Joker. It's all the same character, but they've all done different wonderful turns. Michael Emerson's take on the Joker in The Dark Knight Returns,
Fantastic.
awesome, wonderful. So, I love them all.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time
My
for this
pleasure.
interview. I greatly appreciate it. It's
My
been truly
pleasure.
an honor to meet you.
Thank you.